It's London, 1814, and the social season is in full swing at Count Oslo's gallery party. All the nobles are here, pretending to admire expensive artworks while they're really just networking and gossiping. It's the usual high society scene. But our girl, Charlotte, isn't just here to look pretty. She has a very clear goal for the evening. Her aunt suddenly snaps her out of her thoughts, warning her not to space out. When questioned if she'd forgotten what they practiced, Charlotte quickly stammers that, of course, she remembers. Charlotte flashes back to the intense training she endured for society. From walking lessons to posing practice, every moment was a struggle under her caretaker's strict eye. But she didn't go through all that for nothing. She declares that she prepared thoroughly for this night and is determined to finally get a dance request. After all, the Augusta daughters are famous for their stunning beauty. It's a well-known fact. Unfortunately for our girl, there's always one exception to the rule. In her family, that exception is her, Charlotte Augusta. Unlike her four sisters, who were all stunning blondes, Charlotte was the only one with curly brown hair. She couldn't help but feel like the odd one out, always stuck on the sidelines at parties. While her sisters danced with handsome gentlemen, she was just a wallflower. But not anymore. Gripping her fan with fiery determination, she decides today is the day that all changes. With a plan straight from her aunt's special training, she prepares to make her move, an elegant walk, a flutter of her fan, and a dramatic, well-timed stumble. Charlotte daydreams of her plan's perfect execution. A handsome gentleman catches her mid-fall, calling her beautiful and asking for a dance. But snapping back to reality, her true wish is much simpler. She just wants to stop being treated like the ugly duckling among swans. As she scans the crowded ballroom for a potential target, her eyes lock onto one man in particular. He towers a full head above everyone else, and Charlotte is struck by his presence, wondering how she could have missed him until now. Charlotte is completely stunned. He's the most handsome man she's ever seen, and her heart hammers in her chest. This can't be real. She dashes over to her aunt, asking if she sees the tall gentleman. But when her aunt looks, the man is gone, vanished into thin air. Her aunt, a walking encyclopedia of eligible bachelors, declares that if she doesn't know him, he must be married. Before Charlotte can even feel disappointed, the music swells. The lovely Helena has taken her seat at the piano, ready to capture everyone's attention. The ballroom buzzes with gossip. While guests praise Charlotte's sisters, their whispers about her are less kind, calling her tomboyish and plain. The hurtful words sting, but she forces them down, determined to stick to her plan. Taking a deep breath, she puts her performance into action. She sways unsteadily, pressing a hand to her forehead as if she might faint. As onlookers begin to notice her, she feels a rush of confidence. Surely, one of these men would rush to be her hero. She waits, ready to be caught. Charlotte's act goes south, fast. Just as she starts to sway, her eyes lock onto the handsome stranger who disappeared moments before. Nearby, guests mock her, certain she was just telling stories. But her fake faint turns horribly real, and her legs buckle beneath her. There's no hero waiting to catch her. With the mortifying thought that she's doomed, she smacks into the cold floor. The entire ballroom goes quiet as the impact echoes. Her grand plan just became a grand disaster. As Charlotte's world goes black, her mind screams in panic. The entire ballroom is staring, their silent judgment feeling heavier than any statue. Mortified, she's rushed out of the party. Walking down the grand staircase she had hoped to conquer, she dabs at her tear-filled eyes. Her desperate plan to find a husband has backfired spectacularly, leaving her with nothing but total, public humiliation. Her reputation is officially in tatters. As her mother tells her to stop crying, Charlotte panics, worrying they'll be forced to pay for the chaos she caused. But her mother is all business. She'll handle the apology herself. Dismissed and sent away, Charlotte is left alone on the staircase, completely defeated. She's convinced her life is over. Just as she sinks into despair, a pair of polished shoes stops in front of her. A moment later, a man's coat is gently draped over her head, and she looks up to see the mysterious stranger from the ballroom. Charlotte stares up at the stranger, her tears momentarily forgotten. The man looks down, a knowing glint in his eyes as he confirms that it's just as he thought. Then, with a mysterious smile, he leans in and asks a bizarre question. He wants to know if she can actually see him. Totally thrown, Charlotte can only stammer out a confused pardon. This guy was an enigma before, but now he's making absolutely no sense. Her night of public humiliation just keeps getting weirder and weirder, leaving her completely baffled on the grand staircase. The stranger smirks, confirming what he already suspected. She can indeed see him. Completely thrown, Charlotte stammers that he's saying something very strange. Who else would possibly be there? As her eyes dart around the empty terrace, a chilling realization hits her. They are completely, utterly alone. Before she can even react, he closes the distance between them in a few silent steps. He gently takes her face in his hands, forcing her to meet his intense gaze. With a knowing look, he tells her that she is something truly special. The stranger confirms that she can really see him. Charlotte's mind goes blank. He's standing way too close. But strangely, his touch is warm, and it doesn't feel unpleasant at all. Just as she's trying to figure out how to react, her mother's sharp voice cuts through the air, asking if she's still there. Charlotte snaps back to reality, finding her mother at the bottom of the stairs, absolutely furious. Her mother lays into her for being caught alone with a man, and Charlotte scrambles to explain the impossible situation. Charlotte braces for a storm, but her mother is furious about something else entirely. She was supposed to be waiting in the carriage. When Charlotte's father arrives, her mother reveals that the Count refused to accept their apology for the earlier fiasco. They're so wrapped up in the scandal that they don't see the man standing right beside their daughter. Utterly bewildered, Charlotte realizes they can't see him at all. Her mother calls for her again, and she reluctantly hurries after them, leaving the mysterious stranger watching from the shadows. As Charlotte is forced to leave, the handsome stranger's voice echoes in her mind, promising he'll see her later. Later that night, the mood at the Augusta residence is grim. Bianca is trembling on the couch while her mother unleashes a torrent of rage on Charlotte. She screams that Charlotte has ruined everything with her scandal, torpedoing not just her own future, but the marriage prospects of all her sisters. Charlotte stands frozen, utterly shocked by the brutal verbal assault. Head bowed, Charlotte desperately apologizes to her sister, promising to fix the mess she made. But Helena scoffs, firing back that a ruined reputation is permanent. She screams that their one chance to connect with the high nobility is completely gone. Their Aunt Alicia finally cuts in, telling Helena that's enough. Even their father tries to defend Charlotte, but Helena isn't having it. She furiously declares that if they miss Prince Leopold's welcome ball because of this, she will never forgive her sister as long as she lives. Overwhelmed by her family's fury, Charlotte retreats to her room. She decides she must visit the Count and beg for his forgiveness, though she worries he'll still demand a fortune for the statue. But as she opens the door, she freezes in terror. The handsome stranger from the ball is standing right there, by her window. He calmly says he's glad she's finally here. After letting out a scream, she demands to know how he got in. He simply explains that he came because there was something important he didn't get to tell her. Charlotte totally freaks out, demanding to know who let the handsome stranger in and worrying someone will see him. He just calmly tells her not to worry. But it's too late. Her scream brings Nanny Sydney rushing to the door. Charlotte frantically points at the man, shouting that an intruder is in her room. The nanny just looks baffled, seeing nothing but empty space. She asks what man Charlotte is talking about, blaming the outburst on her reading too many racy novels. That's when it hits Charlotte. Only she can see him. Once Nanny Sydney leaves, convinced her charge is just being dramatic, Charlotte faces the mysterious man alone. Her mind whirls with confusion. Seeing her state, he decides it's time for an explanation. After he tells her his unbelievable story, Charlotte processes the impossible request. She clarifies he's basically a ghost, and he needs her to find out what happened to his body. He calmly confirms she's understood everything perfectly. Leopold continues his story, admitting he isn't even sure if he's dead or a real ghost. He explains that one day, he simply woke up completely invisible and unheard by the world. He wandered aimlessly like a lost soul until he encountered Charlotte, the only person who could see him. Shocked, she asks why she's the only one. He calmly turns a question around, asking if she possesses some hidden power. After she denies it, he tells her to look in the mirror. Charlotte turns, her eyes widening in disbelief at the reflection. Charlotte stares at her reflection, her breath catching in her throat. The mirror shows only her. Leopold is completely invisible. Shaken, she asks if he's truly standing there, or if she's just seeing things. In response, he gently reaches out and cups her cheek. The sudden, warm contact sends a jolt through her, making her heart pound. As she stands frozen, he softly asks a simple question. If this is all in her head, then why does his hand feel so real to her? But Charlotte can't shake a darker possibility. She hesitantly asks him the question hanging in the air. What if he really is gone, and this ghostly form is all that remains of him? Leopold smirks sadly, saying if he were really gone, he could rest easy. He reasons that since Britain is quiet, he must either still be alive or his body is just undiscovered. Charlotte is baffled, wondering if he's just full of himself. He then makes his pitch. If she finds out what happened to him, he'll fix her reputation. As a bonus, he offers to introduce her to England's most eligible bachelors. Stunned, Charlotte questions his connections, pointing out she's never seen him at any social gathering before. Still skeptical, Charlotte asks him to repeat his name. He just smirks and says, Leopold. The name hits a nerve, feeling strangely familiar. He did say he grew up in Britain. Suddenly, the pieces click together in her mind. Her eyes widen with a shocking realization. There's no way he could be that Leopold, the legendary Prince of Holland. Even though his kingdom is just a puppet state for Napoleon, the prince himself is famous across the continent as a brilliant and unbeatable strategist, a true genius of war and games. The rumors were true. Prince Leopold is a legendary prodigy, a genius who has captured the attention of leaders in both Britain and France. A brief flashback even shows the socialite Armand Roquefort gossiping about knowing the prince well. Back in her room, Charlotte is completely overwhelmed. The situation is far bigger than she ever imagined. She spirals, first worrying about royal etiquette before the grim reality hits her. A prince's life is hanging in the balance. The secret is terrifying, and she feels a huge responsibility crashing down on her. As dawn breaks, she panics while Leopold just watches, unfazed. Leopold calmly asks if she will accept his proposal. Charlotte's mind races. A real-life prince is making a deal with her? It feels like an impossible dream. She thinks about his promised sweet reward, which sounds dangerously scandalous. A darker thought surfaces. What if this man is just a devil wearing a prince's face? Pushing aside her fear, she makes her choice. Charlotte sinks to her knees before him, clasping her hands together. She has officially accepted his dangerous offer. Leopold just stares down, his expression a complete mystery. With the deal officially struck, Charlotte decides to run a quick test. Is this really a prince's spirit, or some kind of demon in disguise? A memory of her old governess scolding her about skipping church flashes in her mind. She clasps her hands and begins to pray, hoping the holy words will expose him if he's evil. But her memory fails her, and she fumbles through the prayer, forgetting the lines. Leopold just stares down at her, utterly confused by her strange, stammering performance. Charlotte silently panics, wishing she'd paid more attention in church. Her clumsy prayer trails off, but a new, more desperate one takes its place. In the silence of her mind, Charlotte pleads not for divine help, but for love. She imagines someone who could heal the deep wounds in her heart and stay by her side for all eternity. A partner who would fill her world completely with passion and affection. As this raw, heartfelt desire surfaces, a small, almost imperceptible smile touches Leopold's lips. It seems he understands her true wish far better than she realizes. The next morning, Charlotte and her family arrive at the Earl of Oslo's estate. Leopold's words from the night before echo in her mind. He had promised to resolve the issue, but she had to be the one to go first. Despite her lack of confidence, Charlotte steels herself. She can't continue being a burden on her family and has no choice but to trust the mysterious prince. Just as she gathers her courage, a butler loudly announces their arrival, signaling that there's no turning back now. The confrontation is about to begin. The Earl of Oslo, the owner of the damaged statues, finally appears. He apologizes for the wait, claiming he's occupied with royal envoys and can't possibly speak with them today. He tries to send them away, suggesting they return next week. Defeated, Charlotte's father is about to agree and take his leave. But Charlotte knows this is her only chance. Refusing to be dismissed, she suddenly shouts out, pleading for the Earl to hear what she has to say. Her desperate interruption stuns the entire room into a shocked silence. The Earl of Oslo smirks, thinking this is just another desperate plea. He tells her a sudden apology won't fix anything. But Charlotte isn't here to grovel. She looks him dead in the eye and declares that she didn't come to apologize because she has nothing to be sorry for. The Earl is utterly speechless. With a newfound confidence, Charlotte reveals the real reason she's here. She informs him that he should be grateful to her because he, the great Earl, has been completely swindled. The bombshell drops, leaving the entire room in shock. The Earl's face twists in anger, but Charlotte's bold claim piques his interest. He smirks, finally giving her his full attention and telling her he's listening. Charlotte begins her explanation, recalling the night of the ball. She had been completely captivated by his estate's famous statues, known for their beauty. She even found one of them to be incredibly handsome. While her sister Helena played a tribute on the piano, Charlotte admired the art. But, she adds, she soon realized she couldn't forgive herself for doing so, hinting at a darker secret. Charlotte explains she couldn't forgive herself because she saw something forbidden. She reveals that on the pedestals of those very statues, she found a signature engraved. The name was Commodore de Ruyter. The Earl is completely stunned, demanding to know if she's telling the truth. Charlotte confirms it, stating she could never forget that name. It belonged to the enemy commander who defeated her great-grandfather. This revelation hits the Earl hard. He realizes her ancestor was also in the Royal Navy, revealing his own family earned its title through a great naval victory. The Earl confirms his family's legacy, explaining his father was a commodore who seized their title through a great naval triumph. But Charlotte hammers home the ultimate insult. While a song titled Ode to the Victors played, statues signed by their sworn enemy were on display for all to see. She admits she was terrified of causing a scandal, but she claims she was more worried about the Earl facing public humiliation. She couldn't let that happen. So, she took matters into her own hands, purposefully knocking over the statue and destroying the source of his shame. Charlotte stands firm, declaring she only wanted to protect the pride of the House of Oslo. The Earl, stunned, asks if that's her true reason. Internally, his mind is blown. He realizes a daughter-in-law worthy of his family's prestige has finally appeared right before him. While her father watches with a growing sense of dread, the Earl's stern face breaks into a loud laugh. He praises Charlotte for covering up his blunder. As an apology, he invites her entire family to next week's ball, even asking Helena to perform again. Her sisters are completely shocked. With their reputation saved, the Augusta family is all smiles. Back at the manor, Charlotte bolts straight to her room, her footsteps echoing down the hall. She throws the doors open, a massive grin lighting up her face as she calls out for Leopold. But she freezes in her tracks. It's not her ghostly prince waiting for her. Instead, Armand Rochefort is sitting calmly on her bed. Completely stunned by his sudden appearance, she asks him why he's back. Armand Rochefort listens as Charlotte explains her brilliant plan. With a dreamy sigh, she admits she's never felt so capable. For the first time, she wasn't the family's troublesome daughter, but a hero who saved them from financial ruin. She excitedly reveals they've been invited to the royal ball, where the Earl himself will introduce them to high society. With a powerful sponsor, she'll finally get to meet every prestigious and wealthy bachelor in town. Her marriage prospects have never looked better. Armand listens with a thoughtful expression. He then drops a bombshell, revealing a deep connection to the ghostly prince. He tells Charlotte that Leopold once said their friendship brought him joy. The revelations keep coming. Armand confesses that he's been secretly staying in Britain, hiding his true identity this whole time. In fact, he was officially scheduled to arrive on the day of the Earl's party, and the news of his disappearance from his homeland hasn't even been announced yet. Leopold explains that very few people even know he's missing. Charlotte's eyes widen as she puts the pieces together. This means the culprit must have already been in Britain. Impressed, Leopold confirms her theory, thinking to himself that she's much sharper than she realizes. He dismisses her concern for him, stating that his own fate doesn't matter. What's crucial is finding the person responsible for the sake of his country. He reveals that his secret information might have been leaked through an old friend, and now he has only one task for Charlotte. Leopold gives Charlotte her mission: meet his old friend at the ball tomorrow. The Earl's introduction will be her perfect cover. Suddenly, it all clicks for Charlotte. She accuses Leopold of only helping her so he could use her to get into the prestigious event. She puffs out her cheeks, realizing their deal was completely one-sided. As she stews in anger, Armand walks over and kneels before her. He gently touches her shoulder, telling her to look at him. He confesses that right now, he's the one who truly needs her help. Stunned, Charlotte stares as Armand remains on his knees before her. His expression is dead serious. He explains that his request isn't just a whim, it's a matter of desperation. Looking up at her, he confesses that out of so many people, she was the only one who managed to find him. His raw, honest plea cuts through her anger, leaving her completely speechless. This wasn't about using her for a party anymore. This was a man in hiding, genuinely asking for her help. In the moonlit Augusta Manor garden, Charlotte sits alone, lost in thought. She mopes, regretting not asking the prince a crucial question the night before. A smooth voice suddenly cuts through the silence, teasingly asking if she expects to find a suitor hidden inside her book. Startled, Charlotte looks up to see Prince Leopold materialize before her with a knowing smirk. He asks if she's happy to see a ghost, but she flips the script on him. She confesses that she was actually hoping to ask for his help, piquing his interest instantly. Leopold sits beside her, ready to listen. He asks what kind of help she needs. Charlotte explains that to meet his old friend, her royal etiquette needs to be perfect. In those elite circles, she says, even a tiny mistake can cause a huge scandal. Leopold smirks, guessing she also wants to impress potential suitors. A flustered Charlotte admits that Prince Philip Oslo personally gave her an invitation. The ghost prince immediately understands. Philip plans to ask her for a dance. With a serious look, Leopold agrees to teach her and asks if she's ready to begin. Beaming with excitement, Charlotte asks if he's serious. Leopold smirks and begins his first lesson. He takes her hand gently, explaining a crucial rule: a lady never removes her gloves before a gentleman. He clarifies that showing bare skin is considered a deeply intimate act. With a knowing look, he demonstrates how even tugging at the edge of a glove is a subtle way to signal interest. A deep blush creeps up Charlotte's face. This etiquette lesson was way more detailed than the crash course her aunt had given her. With the basics covered, Leopold's practical lesson begins. He bows elegantly and holds out his hand, asking for the dance. As Charlotte accepts, he pulls her into position. They start to waltz under the moonlight, and she immediately feels how different this is. The proximity is intense, making her blush. In her flustered state, she trips, but Leopold catches her effortlessly. He calmly tells her to be careful and to lean on him more. Blushing even harder, Charlotte looks up, surprised by how patient her ghostly teacher is being with her. As they waltz, Charlotte admits this is her first time ever dancing with a gentleman, praising Leopold for being such a good partner. Changing the subject, she gets down to business. Since he's made her the family's lucky charm, she wants to do more for him. She proposes a new deal. He helps her get engaged by the end of the season, and she will solve the mystery of how he became a ghost. Knowing she has little to offer, she makes a solemn vow, swearing on her future husband that she'll uncover the truth. Leopold smirks, amused by Charlotte's bold promise. Swearing on a future husband to a ghost was certainly a new one. He holds her close under the moonlight, remarking that they've now become quite essential to one another. The scene then shifts to the Grand British Royal Palace, where a lavish ball is in full swing. As Charlotte and her family make their entrance, a distinguished gentleman steps forward to welcome the ladies of the Augusta house, his smile bright and inviting. A new public test is about to begin. The distinguished gentleman, an earl, asks to formally introduce his son to the Augusta ladies. Charlotte's mother readily agrees, calling it a great honor. The earl proudly presents Philip Oslo, a national hero fresh off the ship that exiled Napoleon. Internally, Charlotte is stunned. The rumors about him being incredibly handsome are true. Before she can process anything, the Earl assigns Philip to look after Charlotte for the night. Her sisters quickly wish her good luck and disappear. Suddenly, Philip is standing right in front of her, smiling warmly. He confesses he's been eager to meet her ever since the statue incident. Charlotte remembers Leopold's lesson. Loosening a glove is the signal for a dance. This is her chance. She fumbles with the edge of her glove, but the darn thing is stuck solid. It's so tight, she can't get it off without dropping her fan. Philip notices her struggle and asks if she's feeling unwell. Frustrated, she mutters under her breath, only to realize he heard her. She quickly explains her glove is just a bit too tight. Ever the gentleman, Philip offers to hold her fan, leaving Charlotte flustered as she thanks him. Charlotte's plan backfires spectacularly. While fumbling with her glove, she accidentally elbows Prince Philip squarely in the chest. He doubles over, wheezing for air as she panics, rushing him to a private terrace to avoid a scene. Mortified, she apologizes profusely. But Philip just smiles, thanking her for the much-needed break from his hosting duties. Then he drops a bombshell. Tonight's exceptionally grand ball is being held in honor of none other than Prince Leopold of Holland, the very ghost she's been helping all this time. Prince Philip explains the ball's immense grandeur is to impress dignitaries for the upcoming Congress of Vienna. Seeing Charlotte's confusion, he clarifies it's a critical meeting to discuss Holland's independence. But then, he leans in and drops the real bombshell, a hot piece of society gossip. The rumor is the air is thick with gossip as the ladies speculate why Prince Leopold is in England. They whisper that he's here to find a bride at this very ball. Charlotte overhears, her eyes widening. A bride for His Highness? Wouldn't that make her a queen? But a gentleman nearby quickly crushes the rumor. He explains that although Leopold is the eldest son, he gave the title of crown prince to his younger brother. The shocking reason? Leopold isn't the child of the lawful queen, so he can never inherit the throne. The gentleman explains that Prince Leopold could have claimed the crown, but his character was too noble. He refused to fight his own brother for the throne and stepped aside. As Charlotte quietly considers this, a voice suddenly appears behind her. A man asks if she has any interest in becoming the prince's bride. Flustered, Charlotte remembers the face of the actual crown prince and furiously denies it. The stranger simply smiles, stating that he's relieved to hear her say that. The charming stranger reveals he was hoping to ask her for a dance. He extends his hand, asking if she would grant him the honor. Absolutely beaming, Charlotte eagerly accepts, saying she would be delighted. As their hands meet, their moment is shattered by the arrival of royal officials. A man in uniform steps forward with a grave announcement for the entire party. Due to a serious matter concerning Prince Leopold himself, his welcome reception is officially cancelled. An investigation is now underway. Panic explodes through the ballroom as guests ask if something has happened to the prince. But the officials stay silent, refusing to say another word before they depart. The partygoers whisper anxiously, wondering if His Highness is all right. Later, Charlotte walks outside with Leopold's spirit. She reflects that while the entire nation worries about the prince, she's the only one who can actually see him. Suddenly, a shocking thought strikes her, and she freezes in her tracks. Wait a second, if they're investigating his disappearance, does that mean they found his body? Before she can dwell on the grim possibility, a loud argument cuts through the quiet night. It's the red-haired man from the party, Armand Rochefort, and he is furious. He yells at Prince Philip Oslo, screaming that he knew something had happened to Leopold, but Philip never listened to a word he said. As the two men face off, Leopold's ghost recognizes the fiery gentleman. He quietly explains to Charlotte that Armand became a very close friend of his here in England. Armand gets right in Prince Philip's face, screaming that he's the one they should talk to about Leopold's disappearance. He boasts that he knows every last one of the prince's enemies. Charlotte instantly recognizes him as a rowdy gentleman from the party, but her hope plummets. The man is completely wasted and can barely stand straight. A moment later, Leopold's spirit vanishes. Confused, Charlotte searches the gardens for him. Suddenly, a voice from behind startles her. It's Prince Philip, asking if she enjoyed the ball. Suddenly, Leopold's spirit reappears right before her. Overcome with relief, Charlotte rushes to him, asking where he's been. She confesses she was terrified she'd never see him again. The ghost prince just smirks, teasingly asking if she expected him to spend his nights loitering in ladies' bedrooms. A flustered Charlotte quickly clarifies that's not what she meant. Since the whole world knew he was missing, she'd been half hoping he'd just show up at the party and prove she wasn't imagining things all along. Leopold sighs, stating that sadly, all they've confirmed is his ghostly state. Charlotte frantically waves her hands, refusing to accept it. She insists he might be under a curse and begs him not to sound so defeated. The prince's expression softens. He notes that it's too dark to see her face and invites her to walk with him in the garden so they can talk. As they stroll along the moonlit path, he asks her to confirm a crucial detail, that the news of his disappearance broke before the ball even started. Charlotte quietly agrees. Leopold points out that Charlotte's big night ended before it even started. He teases that she never got to show off the stunt she'd practiced, or even have her dance. A flustered Charlotte admits he's right, but she's confused why he's asking. Without warning, they both begin to float, drifting gently through the trees. They land softly in a breathtakingly beautiful clearing, leaving Charlotte completely stunned by the magical sight. Gazing around the ethereal clearing, Leopold comments that it's almost like a real ballroom. He steps closer to a stunned Charlotte, acknowledging that while he might not be the Earl's son she had her eye on, and there's certainly no orchestra, he is the reason she lost her first dance. With a charming smile, the ghost prince gracefully extends his hand. He formally asks if she will give him that dance instead, leaving Charlotte completely breathless as she stares at his outstretched hand. As they sway together under the moonlight, Charlotte is completely captivated. She asks if he was always such a good dance partner, even when he was alive. Leopold replies with a mysterious smile, admitting that he isn't sure. He explains that a prince burdened by the fate of his nation rarely has time for dances. With so much weighing on his mind, he confesses he never had the luxury of noticing his partner, or realizing just how lovely they could be, until now. Her heart skips a beat at his sincere words. Still lost in the moment, Charlotte asks if he was ever truly happy living such a burdensome life. Leopold admits he isn't sure. With a smirk, he says the one thing he does know is that he never celebrated getting to go to a ball by rolling around on his bed with joy, the way she did. Pouting, Charlotte grumbles that Holland must be full of serious people. He simply smiles, telling her that right now, he's just glad he gets to dance with her. He whispers her name, making her cheeks flush. As their moonlit dance concludes, Leopold reflects that perhaps he lived his entire life just to experience this single, beautiful moment. The next morning, Charlotte is completely lost in thought while having tea with her Aunt Alicia. Her aunt has to call her name to snap her out of her daydream. Flustered, Charlotte apologizes and explains she was just thinking about the lovely forest path they saw the day before. With a wistful look, she adds that it seems like the kind of road a ghost might walk along, blushing at the thought. As they chat, Aunt Alicia drops a bombshell, calmly telling Charlotte that the living can sometimes catch a glimpse of ghosts. She even reveals she's seen her own late husband a few times. With a mysterious smile, she adds that on All Saints' Eve, a love story with a ghost might just come true. Before a totally shocked Charlotte can ask what she means, Helena bursts onto the scene. She quickly explains that her sister Bianca ditched their trip to London to bake sweets with a boy, and she needs Charlotte to come with her instead. A totally stunned Charlotte can't believe it, since people usually avoid her for fear she'll cause trouble. Plus, She was dying to hear the rest of her aunt's ghost story. But Helena is desperate, explaining that her parents won't let her go to the city alone. Before Charlotte can even protest, Helena grabs her hand and starts dragging her away, promising she can enjoy the sights while she runs her errands. A flustered Charlotte is whisked off, leaving her amused aunt behind. As they head out, Charlotte worries that London is too far away. Helena waves off her concern, explaining they can take a shortcut through the Rochefort family's hunting grounds. The name hits Charlotte like a ton of bricks, unlocking a memory from Leopold's past. A desperate man named Armand Rochefort had tried to warn Prince Philip that Leopold was in grave danger. Snapping back to the present, Charlotte asks if Helena knows him. Helena shakes her head, explaining that while she's never met him, his family is famous for sponsoring the best musicians. Helena pushes for an answer, asking Charlotte if she's coming or not. Suddenly, a switch flips in Charlotte's mind. A huge, determined grin spreads across her face as she enthusiastically declares that she'll go. Soon, they're in a carriage rattling through the woods. Helena gets a bad feeling, noticing Charlotte is staring at her intensely. She nervously asks why Charlotte has that look, thinking to herself that whenever her friend's eyes sparkle like that, it always means trouble is just around the corner. As the carriage pulls up to a grand mansion, Charlotte's eyes light up. They've finally arrived at the Rochefort estate. But her excitement is all part of the act. She suddenly clutches her stomach, wincing dramatically. As she collapses to the floor of the carriage, she cries out that she has a terrible stomach ache. A totally panicked Helena screams her friend's name and frantically orders the driver to stop immediately. The carriage jolts to a halt, and Helena leaps out, desperate to find help for her suddenly very ill friend. Charlotte continues her act, groaning that her stomach hurts so much she can't even walk. But her plan backfires when Helena, totally falling for it, tries to get her back in the carriage to rush home to a doctor. Panicking, Charlotte realizes she's about to lose her chance. Thinking on her feet, she switches tactics, now clutching her head and complaining of a headache made worse by the bumpy ride. With a sly glance, she points to the mansion and innocently asks if they could just bother the residents for a quick glass of water. With her plan set, Charlotte's mind races. She knows her target, Mr. Armand Rochefort, has a reputation for being a terrible flirt. He simply can't resist coming to the aid of a lady in distress. And Charlotte is about to play that part perfectly. As Helena runs toward the mansion, Charlotte collapses dramatically, crying out that her stomach is in agony. Her performance is so convincing that a terrified Helena screams for someone to please help them. Up on a balcony, the man himself, Armand, pauses his tea time. His attention is officially caught by the commotion below. Mr. Armand Rochefort appears, flashing a dazzling smile. He eagerly welcomes the ladies, explaining their visit is a welcome interruption to his lonely tea time. He insists they come inside for refreshments. A flustered Helena tries to politely refuse, saying they only need a glass of water. But before she can ruin everything, Charlotte quickly grabs her arm. She smoothly argues it would be rude to turn down a true gentleman's kindness. Her plan works perfectly. Armand, completely charmed, personally leads them into his grand estate for a tour. Charlotte inwardly celebrates. She knows her friend Helena is a complete fanatic when it comes to music. This was the perfect bait. He unveils the magnificent room, and Helena gasps in awe at the stunning grand piano. Armand smoothly explains that his French heritage has blessed him with a deep passion for the arts, a trait he can see she shares. Flattered and completely smitten, Helena is speechless. He then asks if she would grace his brand new piano with a performance. As Helena plays a beautiful melody, Armand looks completely captivated. Once the music ends, Charlotte thanks him for his hospitality. She plays her part perfectly, praising her sister's incredible talent while lamenting that she could never play so well. Armand immediately seizes the chance to flatter her, declaring that even the piano's sound pales in comparison to her beauty. Internally, Charlotte notes his reputation as a flirt is well-deserved. He then insists she drop the formalities and call him Armand, a request that proves her plan is working perfectly. Seizing the opportunity, Charlotte pivots the conversation. She casually brings up the recent rumor about a missing prince. Armand immediately guesses she means Prince Leopold. Playing coy, Charlotte confirms the name and asks if Armand knew him, pointing out their similar foreign backgrounds. Armand's demeanor shifts as he confirms they were well acquainted when the prince studied in England. He then leans in conspiratorially, revealing a secret. He actually met with Leopold right before the prince vanished. Charlotte has hit the jackpot. Charlotte presses her advantage, asking Armand exactly when he saw the prince in London. But her question immediately backfires. Armand's friendly demeanor vanishes, and he calls her inquiry very strange. He points out that everyone believes Leopold arrived the day of his reception, yet Charlotte speaks as if she knew he'd been in town longer. Realizing her massive slip-up, Charlotte freezes solid. Armin's eyes narrow, silently questioning if her mistake was truly innocent. He wonders if she's just a naive girl or someone far more calculating. The air grows thick with suspicion. Armin's friendly act shatters. He questions how someone who claimed ignorance of the prince's name could know about his childhood in England. He remembers seeing her at the reception, staring intently as he spoke with Prince Philip. At first, he dismissed her as a smitten girl, but now, he suspects she overheard him that night. He grabs her arm, his voice turning cold. As a nobleman, he claims he should inform the Knights of Holland about her suspicious interest and where she's getting her secret information. Charlotte is completely trapped. Instead of turning her in, Armand flips the script with a dangerous offer. He suggests she could just tell him her secret. For the right price, he'll even keep quiet about her suspicious knowledge. He lays out a clever plan. When her sister's piano performance ends, Charlotte is to leave her fan behind. This gives him a perfect excuse to find her later, where they can trade information for his silence. As the final note rings out and applause fills the room, Armand walks away, leaving Charlotte completely shell-shocked by the new deal. Back in her room, Charlotte's mind races with regret. She'd gone to House Rochefort hoping to find answers, but only made a massive mess of things. She berates herself for the colossal failure, only to be stopped by a familiar voice. Leopold calmly comments that she keeps showing him new sides of herself. Whipping around, Charlotte panics. She rushes over, breathlessly explaining that she visited Armand Rochefort's estate. Before she could even get started, something terrible happened, and she fears the consequences of her mistake. Leopold listens as Charlotte explains she only made Armand suspicious. Convinced she's failed, she apologizes and says he must be disappointed in her. But Leopold isn't mad at all. He gently wipes a tear from her cheek, admitting he should have warned her sooner. Then, he drops a bombshell revelation. Armand is his secret knight. The prince explains that Armand doesn't actually suspect her of anything sinister. He's just using the situation as a clever excuse to keep a close watch on her father and everyone connected to them. Leopold admits that Armand's suspicion would be a problem, since the knight knows literally everything about him. Confused, Charlotte asks what she should do. With a sly smile, Leopold explains that even the most loyal knight has to make exceptions sometimes. He then drops an absolute bombshell of a plan on her. He calmly instructs her to tell Armand that she is Leopold's secret lover. The outrageous command sends Charlotte's heart racing, leaving her completely speechless and blushing furiously as she sits on her bed. Charlotte is absolutely stunned by his crazy plan. A lover? Her? Leopold explains that since rumors are already flying about him looking for a bride, this is the most natural cover story. It would be the least suspicious reason for her to be involved with him. But Charlotte's mind spirals with doubt. How could anyone, especially a sharp knight like Armand, believe that an ordinary girl like her was the prince's secret lover? Leopold senses her hesitation and clarifies. He isn't asking her to act. All she has to do is be honest. Leopold starts coaching her, laying out their cover story. If Armand asks, she's to say they first met at one of Earl Oslow's gallery parties. He paints a romantic picture of them secretly meeting up afterward for late-night walks and quiet conversations, just like they were doing now. The intimate suggestion makes Charlotte blush. She nervously agrees, realizing this is the only way to protect her family and help the prince. But Leopold isn't finished. With a sly smile, he adds that if they were truly lovers, there would be more they'd have to do. Charlotte stammers, her face flushed as she asks what other things lovers have to do. With her question hanging in the air, her imagination immediately runs wild. Her heart hammers in her chest as she pictures all the deeply romantic moments a prince and his secret lover might share. She braces herself for a scandalous suggestion, only for Leopold to bring her crashing back down to earth. He calmly finishes his thought. As lovers, they should at least know a few boring facts about each other. The anticlimactic answer leaves Charlotte completely dumbfounded. Mortified, Charlotte stammers an apology for her overactive imagination. Leopold simply begins their lesson, giving her the facts she'll need to fool Armand. But instead of favorite colors, he dives straight into complex politics. He explains Holland's push for independence and his own efforts to persuade European leaders. As Charlotte furiously takes notes, her respect for him skyrockets. It all makes sense now. But one thing still bugs her. If he gave up his claim to the throne, why was he working harder than any other prince she knew? Leopold explains that not being the crown prince gave him an advantage. He could operate in the shadows, building a secret order of knights with loyal men like Armand. As Charlotte listens, her admiration for him skyrockets. He sacrificed a glorious throne for his cause. Suddenly, she puts down her quill, interrupting his political lecture. She declares that lovers don't just trade facts, they share personal details. With a bright smile, she asks about his favorite food and what kind of books he enjoys. Her genuine questions catch the prince completely off guard, leaving him speechless. Leopold misses the point entirely, listing off dense political books like The Prince. Charlotte immediately shoots that down. That's not what she meant at all. She wants to know about the stories he reads as a man, not a prince, the kind that make him daydream. Her question makes him pause. After a moment, he admits that as a boy, he used to read a lot of Shakespeare. Charlotte is baffled, thinking Shakespeare is anything but romantic. But then Leopold gazes at the moon, quietly revealing a poetic side she never knew existed. Leopold continued his poetic quote, telling her she could doubt that truth itself was real, but she must never doubt his love for her. He gently cupped her cheek, and Charlotte's breath caught in her throat. The prince then revealed the lines were from Shakespeare's Hamlet, a famous love confession. Hearing a storybook prince's heartfelt words from a real prince made her heart pound. She was completely shocked. The sharp, severe man she knew had a hopelessly romantic soul, and she was the only one who got to see it. Feeling closer to him than ever, Charlotte thinks she can finally be the prince's secret lover. But the next morning, she wakes up in her own bed, completely dazed. She has no idea when she fell asleep. She remembers talking with Leopold all night about poetry and his childhood. Still, a piece of the memory is missing. She's sure she asked him another question, but her mind is drawing a complete blank on what happened next. She desperately tries to recall the events of last night. The missing memory finally hits her. Last night, Leopold hadn't given a cold, practical answer at all. When Charlotte had asked about his ideal type, the prince had softly confessed it was someone just like her. Her eyes fly wide open, jolting her back to reality. But before she can even process this bombshell, her maid bursts into the room. A gentleman is downstairs to return the fan she lost. Charlotte panics, realizing with a start that Mr. Armand has arrived, way earlier than she ever expected. Downstairs, Mr. Armand greets Charlotte's mother with a disarming smile. He apologizes for dropping by without an appointment, claiming he's just returning a fan Charlotte left at his estate. But his smooth excuse quickly falls apart. He admits he could have sent a servant, but he was secretly hoping for an excuse to visit. His real target isn't Charlotte at all, it's Helena. He confesses he just wanted another chance to hear her play the piano. Delighted, the mother immediately puts Helena on the spot, who freezes, caught completely off guard. Helena meekly protests, reminding her mother about her plans to go to London. But her mom just grabs her hand, shutting that excuse down fast. She says Helena can skip her weekly sightseeing trip for one day. Turning to their guest, the mother offers to bring out tea. Charlotte tries to interrupt, but Armand just flashes a cool smile. He smoothly tells her they can talk after the music, joking that he can hardly interrogate her with such a beautiful performance in the background. Poor Helena is trapped at the piano, the center of unwanted attention. As the final note of Helena's forced performance hangs in the air, Mr. Armand erupts in applause, praising her talent. With his real objective met, he finally turns to Charlotte, a knowing look on his face. He smoothly asks if she would care for a walk now that the music is over. Charlotte internally sighs with relief, thinking her moment has finally arrived. But his next question is sharp and direct. He states it's a gentleman's duty to discover the true intentions of a lady who conveniently leaves her fan behind. The friendly visit is over. The interrogation has begun. She's escorted outside with her new chaperone, completely sidelined. Left behind, Helena closes her eyes, a triumphant thought revealing her true motive. In her mind, she is the one and only lover of Prince Leopold, and she won't let anyone get in her way. Helena's mind drifts to a fantasy where Prince Leopold cherishes her, declaring to herself that she is loved by him. Meanwhile, in the garden, Armand wastes no time getting down to business. He demands to know why an ordinary person like Charlotte is so curious about His Highness. He presses further, asking who told her the prince was staying in London. Before Charlotte can answer, Bianca smoothly cuts in. She flips the script entirely, coolly questioning why Mr. Armand himself is so invested in this matter. His sharp interrogation is instantly shut down. Armand smirks, commenting that Bianca is bolder than he thought. He leans in close, a manipulative glint in his eyes. He says he likes a lady with secrets, suggesting that sharing them leads to sweet rewards. But Bianca isn't intimidated. She calls his bluff, stating that what he truly wants is information about Prince Leopold. Her direct hit completely shatters his composure. A small chuckle escapes him, which quickly turns into a wild, maniacal laugh. Charlotte, watching nearby, is completely baffled by his sudden and bizarre breakdown. Charlotte internally panics, wondering if she said the wrong thing. She was only trying to drop subtle hints about his real identity, too nervous to just come out and say it. Armand's maniacal laughter dies down, replaced by a smug grin. He asks if she's suspecting him now. Suddenly, he snatches her wrist, pulling her under a tree away from Bianca. The playful mood is gone. Looming over her with a serious expression, he demands to know exactly what she is trying to tell him. The jig is up. Armand cuts straight to the point, asking if she knows his real identity. A flustered Charlotte can't find the words to respond. He then points toward Bianca, noting how amused she and the maid would be to see this. He threatens her with a scandal, suggesting people might think she's having a secret meeting with the son of a notorious baron. The games are over. He grips her chin, demanding she stop. Watching from the sidelines, Leopold warns her to be careful. Armand is a dangerous opponent, and this is no joke. Armand's playful smirk is gone, replaced by a cold, calculating stare. He gets right to the point, demanding to know how Charlotte knew about Prince Leopold's classified schedule. He warns her that while it might be simple gossip for the other ladies, the prince's disappearance is a life-or-death matter for his entire nation. Taking a deliberate step forward, he closes the distance between them, his intensity suffocating. A memory of Leopold's words flashes through her mind, that their friendship would renew them and give them courage. But facing Armand's unrelenting pressure, that courage feels impossible to find. Armand flinches, grabbing Charlotte's shoulder. He demands to know how she could possibly know that phrase. Cornered and out of options, Charlotte blurts out a shocking confession. She is Prince Leopold's lover. She quickly explains that they met in London last summer and grew incredibly close, spinning a believable tale on the spot. The revelation completely blindsides Armand, leaving him utterly speechless. He can only stare, dumbfounded, as he asks if she is truly the prince's secret lover. Charlotte calmly lays out her fabricated story. They met at a gallery, and he initiated their meetings during a stay in London. The tale is just believable enough to throw Armand off. He runs a hand through his hair, unable to process the idea of Leopold having a secret lover. He sneers, questioning how a woman like her could be with the prince. Charlotte flinches, but his jab only hardens her resolve. She clenches her fists, determined to stand firm. With her resolve hardened, Charlotte commits to the lie. She knows a true gentleman like Leopold would never boast about a secret lover, which makes her story plausible. She begins weaving a romantic tale for Armand, describing how the prince would visit her after sundown. They would stay up all night sharing stories or reciting poetry. To make it truly believable, she adds a killer detail. Leopold told her all about his secret night, referring to Armand himself. She then hints at a more intimate moment, causing Armand to go beet red, completely flustered by the scandalous details. Armand yells for her to stop, his face burning with embarrassment. He insists she doesn't need to be so specific, as her poetic passage painted a clear enough picture. Still, he can't fathom why the prince would choose her. In his mind, one of her more dazzling sisters would be believable, but not an ordinary girl like Charlotte. Utterly defeated, he slumps onto a rock with a heavy sigh. Charlotte then delivers the final blow, revealing that Leopold himself told her reciting that specific passage would prove to Armand that she was his lover. Armand looks up, completely defeated, and asks if the poem was some kind of secret code between them. He then starts to open up, revealing a painful part of his past. Though he grew up in Britain, he was born in France. At a time when tensions between the two nations were high, he was constantly looked down on by the other noble boys. They would bully him for his heritage, calling it retribution. He admits that back then, he wasn't strong enough to stand up for himself, drawing a parallel to Charlotte's own life of being compared to others. Charlotte's heart aches for him. She understands his feelings all too well. Armand continues, confessing he could never tell his parents about the bullying. He was the sole heir, and he felt like a total disgrace. The shame got so bad that he thought about disappearing entirely, believing it was the only way to avoid staining his family's name. Just as he was about to make a terrible choice, when he was at his absolute lowest, someone reached out. The person who saved him from his despair was none other than Prince Leopold. Armand explains that even as a foreign royal, Leopold was a big deal. His exceptional intelligence and charisma had earned him the absolute respect of the British nobility. For someone of his stature to reach out to a bullied kid like him felt impossible. Armand couldn't understand it. They were in completely different positions. But that's when Leopold quoted Shakespeare, telling him the very same words Charlotte just said, that life's greatest joy is cultivating friendship with others. A memory of the kind young prince brings a bittersweet look to his face. Armand finishes his story with a warm smile. Prince Leopold had told him their friendship would be a source of strength for them both, and that by simply accepting, Armand was bringing joy to the prince's life. Charlotte softly agrees, saying that sounds exactly like something Leopold would do. Convinced, Armand tells her he finally believes her now. He takes her hand, cheekily adding that it's shocking an ordinary lady is Leopold's match. He suggests that just as he grew from a frail boy into a knight, perhaps she's an ugly duckling destined to become a swan. Armand promises to keep the ugly duckling updated on their search for Leopold. But as they walk, their conversation is cut short by a new arrival, Philip Oslo. The prince offers a polite but cool greeting to Lady Charlotte, noting it's been a while. He then turns to Armand, remarking that he wasn't aware the two were acquainted. Thinking fast, Armand slings an arm around a blushing Charlotte. He shoots Philip a grin, asking if it really takes that long for a man and woman to get close. Prince Philip puts Charlotte on the spot, demanding to know if she agrees with Armand's bold claim. Thinking fast about the favor she owes him, Charlotte nervously says yes. With his job done, Armand announces his departure. But not before one last stunt. He takes her hand and returns her fan, cheekily mentioning she left it on his sofa. With a sly wink, he bids her farewell, leaving Charlotte completely mortified. Philip clears his throat, asking if she's all right. Desperate to change the subject, she insists she's fine and asks what brings him here. Prince Philip explains that his old friends from the Navy are visiting London soon. To honor them, the House of Oslo will be hosting a ball later in the week. He then turns to Charlotte, a warm and inviting look on his face. With his hand placed over his heart, he tells her that he would very much like for her to be there. Completely caught off guard by the personal invitation, a blushing Charlotte can only stammer, wondering if he really meant to ask her. Prince Philip explains the ball is a small event for a friend who couldn't attend Prince Leopold's reception. He adds that since Leopold never showed up, those who cancelled probably felt they'd avoided a wasted trip. Charlotte visibly flinches at this. She's completely baffled, pointing out that Leopold's reception was an event people were desperate to attend. Philip agrees it was surprising. He reveals that 3 people canceled their attendance without warning. Even stranger, not a single one of them offered a reason, which was a major breach of etiquette. Charlotte finds the whole situation bizarre. She thinks that those guests acted as if they knew in advance that Prince Leopold wouldn't be there. Philip's face darkens as he admits his worry. The investigation into Leopold's case is completely stalled. He explains that the prince simply vanished. If it were an enemy attack, there would have been evidence of a struggle. But Leopold's room was found perfectly neat, with only some clothes and personal items missing. The unspoken implication hangs heavy in the air, leaving Charlotte to stammer out a shocked question. Charlotte's mind races as she asks the unthinkable, is he suggesting Prince Leopold wasn't missing at all? Philip's serious expression confirms her fears. He explains that since the investigation keeps hitting dead ends, people are starting to believe the prince simply left on his own. Charlotte is stunned, unable to process the news. She thought the search parties would find him quickly, but now everything is spiraling. Philip gently pulls her from her dark thoughts, asking again if she has decided about attending his ball. Caught off guard, Charlotte hesitates. But then, an image of Leopold's gentle smile flashes in her mind, giving her a sudden burst of courage. With renewed determination, she declares that of course, she will attend the prince's ball. Later that night, she vents her frustrations to Leopold. She can't believe that after all this time, the search party's best guess is the ridiculous theory that he just decided to leave on his own. Fuming, she throws her hands up, questioning how a conclusion like that could possibly make any sense. Leopold calmly explains the political angle. It's far better for the kingdom to push the runaway story than to admit a foreign prince was harmed on their watch. Still fuming, Charlotte argues that it's illogical for him to vanish right before an important conference. Deciding they can't rely on the official search anymore, she turns to him with a serious expression. She asks for his very last memory before everything went dark. Recalling the moment, Leopold reveals he had been living undercover in London, disguised as a minor noble in a rented townhouse. Leopold begins to recount his final living moments. He explains that he'd returned to his townhouse late after a political meeting, just like any other night. Before heading to bed, he wrote a letter to his younger brother, Frederick. He recalls sitting by the window with a nightcap, lost in thought under the blindingly bright moonlight. He insists it was a perfectly ordinary, uneventful evening. The next thing he knew, he opened his eyes and was standing in the gallery, separated from his physical body. The memory simply ends there. Leopold then drops a bombshell. The moment he woke up in the gallery, a spirit separated from his body, Charlotte was the very first person he saw. Stunned, she can hardly believe it. A blush spreads across her face as the single thought echoes in her mind. It was practically fate. With a gentle smile, Leopold confirms her unspoken hope, telling her it must have been destiny that brought the two of them together. Getting flustered, Charlotte puts the pieces together. She asks if this means the reason she can see him is because they're destined to be together. Leopold smirks, teasing her that a terrifying bond with a ghost could also be considered fate. Flustered, Charlotte insists that wasn't the kind she meant. Mustering all her courage, she timidly suggests that maybe their destiny is to be lovers. The bold confession hangs in the air, leaving Leopold completely stunned. Immediately regretting her words, Charlotte tries to change the subject, babbling about the autumn weather. She awkwardly wonders if the season could count as fate. 2. Finding her adorable, Leopold simply agrees with a soft smile. Leopold comments on the clear night sky, and Charlotte agrees that such nights are rare. Suddenly, she gets an idea, excitedly suggesting they could see the entire forest if they climbed a nearby tree. With a mischievous grin, she asks for permission, but Leopold already knows she's made up her mind. Laughing, she admits he's right and immediately starts to climb. Leopold watches from below, telling her to be careful. But just as she gets going, her hand slips. With a cry of surprise, she loses her grip and begins to fall. Charlotte lets out a terrified scream as she plummets from the tree. She shuts her eyes, bracing for impact, but instead of hitting the hard ground, she lands on something much softer. Opening her eyes in confusion, her jaw drops. She hadn't crashed at all. She landed right on top of Leopold. He lies beneath her with his eyes closed, and the sudden, intimate proximity sends a deep blush crawling up her cheeks as she stares down at the ghostly prince. Her heart thumps wildly as she stares down at the handsome prince. For a moment, she's completely captivated, but she quickly snaps out of it, scolding herself for getting flustered. Scrambling to her feet, she anxiously asks if he's okay. Leopold sits up, totally unfazed, and remarks that it's a good thing he's in spirit form. Mortified and overwhelmed, Charlotte grabs his face and blurts out a frantic apology, her cheeks burning bright red. Charlotte stares at Leopold, her mind reeling. She whispers that it's truly amazing. He's supposed to be a ghost, invisible to everyone else, yet he can still protect and hold her. As she places a hand on his chest, a soft blush colors her cheeks. She thinks about his warmth, the firm touch of his arms, and the comfort of his embrace when he caught her just moments ago. Looking up at him with wide, wonder-filled eyes, she realizes she can feel everything about him so vividly. Back at the mansion, a maid approaches Charlotte with a huge pile of letters. Apparently, our girl is suddenly Miss Popular, with invites to all sorts of high society parties. Her maid is practically bursting with pride, telling her everyone's gossiping about how Prince Philip and Armand Rochefort are both fighting for her affection. Charlotte tries to play it cool, but she can't hide her smile. After years of being her sister's +1, she's finally getting her own invitations. Then, her eyes lock onto a specific letter. It's from Armand. Charlotte eagerly reads Armand's letter. He calls her the ugly duckling and says he has new, dangerous information about Leopold's investigation. He wants to meet in person, suggesting she invite her sister, Helena, to a concert at his estate as the perfect excuse. Charlotte loves the idea, certain that music-loving Helena will agree. She hurries to her sister's room and knocks on the door. After inviting her in, Charlotte asks if Helena would like to attend the Rochefort concert together. But her hopes are crushed when Helena bluntly rejects her offer. Charlotte is completely baffled. She asks why her music-loving sister would ever turn down a concert. Without a word, Helena snaps her book shut. Her expression turns cold as she stands, announcing she has to go to London tomorrow, a trip she's been waiting weeks to take. Confused, Charlotte asks if a shopping trip is really that important. This question clearly hits a nerve. Helena stops and turns back, her voice tight with emotion. She insists that she doesn't go to London just to look at shops. Helena snaps back, explaining her life isn't as simple as Charlotte assumes. Utterly confused, Charlotte asks what she means. After a tense pause, Helena drops a bombshell. She's been working in London. The revelation hits Charlotte like a ton of bricks. A noble lady with a job is a huge scandal. Helena calmly clarifies that she's been living a secret life. Every week, she travels to the city to work as a piano accompanist for opera singers' rehearsals, a truth she's kept hidden from everyone in their high society world. Charlotte's mind races. She knows it's a huge scandal for a noble lady to work, so she asks if their parents are aware. Helena sadly confirms they're in the dark. With a weary look, she points out Charlotte's obliviousness. Hasn't she noticed their father is always gone? Or that their sister Bianca is wearing old dresses? Helena drops one crushing revelation after another, making it painfully clear their family is in serious trouble. While Charlotte was busy husband hunting, her entire world was quietly falling apart right under her nose. Helena's hands clench as she delivers the final blow. Their family's finances are failing. The confession sends Charlotte's world spinning. Suddenly, flashes of memories she'd ignored make horrifying sense. Her father's worn-out clothes, her mother constantly mending old dresses. It was all happening right in front of her. As Charlotte processes the devastating truth, Helena places a hand on her shoulder. She tells Charlotte that while it's good she's meeting powerful men, she must remember she is no longer on the same level as them. Their family has fallen. Helena laid out their family's grim reality. They weren't in a position to buy new dresses or order lavish carriages. The best they could hope for now was to find a decent suitor who would accept a small dowry. The words hit Charlotte hard. Later, as she walked alone through the garden, a devastating realization struck her. All those books and accessories Helena had given her, claiming they were cheap, it wasn't true. Charlotte clutched her chest as it all clicked into place. Helena had bought those gifts with the secret wages she'd earned. The weight of her past mistakes comes crashing down on Charlotte. While Helena was risking everything, she was busy breaking statues and chasing men who were completely out of her league. A fierce resolve hardens her expression. She knows exactly what she needs to do. Her new mission is simple: find a proper suitor, not a ghost, and get married as quickly as possible to save her family. Looking at the spectral prince beside her, she asks if he agrees this is the only path left for her. Without warning, Leopold's form flickers, addressing him as Your Highness. With a sudden spark in her eyes, she suggests they find a secret place, just for them. Her bold invitation catches him completely off guard, his heart hammering against his ribs. He wordlessly reaches for her hand, their fingers intertwining as a silent promise is made in the magical glow. They arrive at a breathtaking lakeside, glowing with an ethereal blue light under the moonlight. Charlotte is completely stunned, her face lit with pure joy as she exclaims how beautiful it is. She admits she never knew such a lovely place was hidden here. Leopold watches her, a warm, gentle smile gracing his lips as he sees her so happy. Stepping closer, he holds out his hand and softly invites her to come to him. His sudden change in tone catches her completely off guard, leaving her flustered and questioning his intent. Leopold points to a beautiful little island across the stream, asking if she wants to visit it. He notes that her dress would get soaked, and then makes a shocking offer: he'll carry her across. Charlotte is completely floored, her face flushing bright red as she stammers, wondering if that's asking too much. With a gentle smile, Leopold reassures her that it's all right. He reminds her that she's the one who wanted to follow her heart. A magical glow surrounds Charlotte as she closes her eyes, completely lost in the moment. Charlotte squeezes her eyes shut, her cheeks burning red. With a confident smile, Leopold reminds her they agreed to find a secret place. Before she can even protest, he swoops in and lifts her effortlessly into his arms. Holding her securely, he steps into the shimmering stream and begins walking toward the island. Charlotte looks up at him, completely stunned and speechless. The only sound she can hear is her own heart pounding wildly in her chest as he carries her across the magical, glowing water. As Leopold carries her through the glowing stream, Charlotte's mind races. This feels exactly like a scene from her romance novels. He's the prince, but she's the one being held like a princess. She timidly thanks him, and he smiles warmly, declaring he'd do it any time for our princess. The nickname makes her face burn bright red, leaving her completely flustered. He gently tells her they're almost to the island, holding her securely as he wades through the magical, shimmering water. She can only look up at him, her heart hammering in her chest. As Leopold carries her, Charlotte's mind flashes through their memories. She thinks back to their rocky first meeting, the quiet dawn they shared, and the magical moment they danced in the forest. She never imagined things would turn out like this. Snapping back to the present, she looks up at him with a mix of shyness and determination. She finally asks him the question that's been on her mind. Why did he only call her my lady for so long, keeping that formal distance between them? Leopold looks down at her, a gentle smile on his face. He confesses he was formal at first because he never thought they would need to remember each other. Their deal was supposed to be simple. But now, he admits, he has no choice but to remember her. That's why he can't stop himself from saying her name. Hearing his honest words, Charlotte's face flushes bright red. Her heart thumps wildly in her chest as he finally sets her down gently on the island shore, the magical water swirling around their feet. Charlotte's mind flashes back to her aunt's advice. Her aunt had told her to follow her heart instead of just her eyes. She promised that one day, Charlotte would find a field of flowers meant only for her. Standing there with Leopold, the words finally make sense. Clutching her dress, Charlotte has a moment of pure clarity. She realizes the place her heart is truly drawn to is him. The next morning, sunlight streams into her room as she sits with a book, lost in thought. She can't believe how much she's come to care for the ghost prince. As her fingers trace a poem about love that never changes, she realizes her own feelings are just as unshakable. Her heart has made its choice, and there's no turning back now. Charlotte's mind races with questions about Leopold. Is he really a ghost? Staring out her window, she clutches a book of sonnets to her chest. A soft, knowing smile spreads across her face as she comes to a decision. It doesn't matter if she's reaching for an impossible dream. A furious voice echoes through the mansion as Charlotte's mother demands the truth from someone named Helena. Confused by the sudden anger, Charlotte follows the sound. Peeking into a room, she finds her mother interrogating the young lady about where she's getting so many expensive items. Helena insists they're just hand-me-downs from friends. But her mother calls her bluff, mentioning brand new fabric and now a newly arrived parcel filled with lavish jewelry. At the mention of the jewels, Charlotte's face pales with absolute shock and dawning horror. Charlotte knows that look all too well. When their mother gets like this, no one in the family can defy her. It's a checkmate, and Helena is completely cornered. Charlotte knows her sister can't keep lying forever. Taking a deep breath, she pushes the door open and steps inside. She calmly tells her mother the jewelry isn't from London. She then reminds her of the concert Mr. Armand invited them to just last week. With a steady gaze, Charlotte drops the bombshell. Helena wasn't just a guest at the party. She was invited to perform for the nobles. Both her mother and Helena are frozen in shock, completely stunned by this unexpected confession from the family's quietest daughter. Charlotte presents the jewelry box, explaining it's a gift for Helena from the prestigious House Rochefort. She argues that Helena performing at the charity concert will greatly improve their family's reputation. Her mother's suspicion wavers. While the gift seems excessive, she recalls the dashing Mr. Rochefort and decides it's believable. Suddenly, her entire mood flips. All anger vanishes, replaced by pure excitement. She declares they must immediately commission a new dress for Helena and one for Bianca, too, before rushing off to make arrangements, leaving the sisters in stunned relief. The door clicks shut, leaving the sisters alone in stunned silence. Helena whirls around, demanding to know what that was all about. Charlotte offers a small, reassuring smile, telling her not to worry. Every word she spoke to their mother was true. Internally, Charlotte admits her first reaction to discovering Helena's secret job was to stop her. She was terrified for their family's honor and her sister's future. After all, a noble lady associating with opera singers, who sometimes gained scandalous reputations, was unthinkable. But then, she started to think differently. Charlotte explains her thinking. She realized marriage wasn't the only way for her sister to be happy. Earning her own money playing the piano, that's what brought Helena true joy. She flashes back to a memory of her sister surrounded by their smiling family, looking completely fulfilled at the piano. Looking at a stunned Helena, Charlotte says she just wanted to help in her own way. She reveals that Mr. Armand is a huge supporter. The second she suggested it, he eagerly sent gifts and a formal invitation to perform. Overwhelmed, Helena tightly grips her sister's hand. Charlotte clarifies the details with a warm smile. She'd asked Mr. Armand for funds to help the musicians prepare, but he generously offered to send money to hire a servant instead. She squeezes Helena's hand, reassuring her that it's not payment for labor. It's a token of appreciation for a special guest, money earned entirely through Helena's incredible talent. Helena is stunned silent. Her mind flashes back to the troublemaking child Charlotte used to be, completely overwhelmed that her sister had thought so deeply about her happiness. With tears in her eyes, Helena finally understands how much her sister has thought about her happiness. Charlotte simply tells her she wants Helena to follow the breeze that blows through her heart. The day of the performance arrives at a grand, sunlit estate. Dressed for the occasion, the sisters enter the bustling ballroom. Charlotte's first mission is to find their benefactor. She scans the crowd of nobles, her eyes finally locking onto a familiar shock of red hair. Overjoyed, she calls out to Mr. Armand, successfully grabbing his attention. Mr. Armand greets the sisters with a pleased smile. Overcome with gratitude, Helena announces that she must go thank him. Before she can move, Charlotte zips past, determined to thank him first. Helena is left completely dumbfounded. Just yesterday, her sister seemed so mature, but now she's dashing about like a child again. Still, as she watches Charlotte navigate the crowded ballroom with new confidence, Helena realizes that her little sister really has changed. Her presence even turns a few heads, with other guests murmuring the name Charlotte Augusta. Whispers trail Charlotte as she moves through the ballroom. The nobles are completely captivated by her transformation. They remember her as the plain, wild flower among sunflowers, but now they only see a stunning young woman. The gossip intensifies when a gentleman reveals he heard Charlotte borrowed stacks of love poems from the library. For the onlookers, it's the final piece of the puzzle. This girl, who blossomed into a beautiful lady in just 1 month, could only have changed for one reason. They all come to the same conclusion: Miss Charlotte must be in love. Charlotte wastes no time confronting Mr. Armand, demanding an update on the search for the missing prince. He tries to calm her, but she's not having it. Charlotte bursts out in frustration, yelling that it's been a month, and all they've found is his residence. In her mind, that's not nearly enough progress. As she fumes, a new thought surfaces. The prince isn't the type to just vanish before a big meeting. The situation feels off. almost as if he chose to leave for some secret reason. His disappearance is becoming more suspicious by the minute. Mr. Armand explains that it's not so simple. He was undercover, making it impossible to reveal everything to the search party. If the worst has happened to Prince Leopold, Armand declares he has a duty to uphold his political legacy. Charlotte's hands clench in disbelief. She thought he was a knight sworn to protect the prince, but here he is prioritizing politics over finding him. Flustered, Armand lets slip an old nickname before correcting himself. He reminds her that while she is the prince's lover, he has served Leopold for years and understands the bigger picture. Armand insists he knows Leopold better than anyone. He argues the prince would never want him to act rashly and ruin everything he's worked so hard for. He warns Charlotte not to underestimate his loyalty. Her resolve wavers as she wonders if Leopold truly values his country over his own life. Suddenly, a memory cuts through the tension. Leopold's smiling face as he told her how happy he was just to be dancing with her. The sweetness of his words crashes into her, and a sharp, painful realization sinks deep into her heart. Armand softens his tone, telling Charlotte he knows she misses the prince. He asks her to wait for the investigation, explaining that his team is questioning the servants at Leopold's secret residence, so a new lead might surface soon. For a moment, Charlotte sees past the tense knight to the worried friend beneath. A memory flashes of a younger Armand with Leopold, and she realizes he genuinely cares. But Armand reveals the grim reality. The British military views the prince's disappearance as a great dishonor. They want to bury the whole affair by concluding he vanished on purpose. Tears well up in Charlotte's eyes as she asks Armand how he can possibly trust the official search party. Armand tries to reassure her, explaining that Leopold's status as the king's godson prevents them from being too careless. But he reveals he's taken matters into his own hands. He sent a message to Leopold's half-brother, Crown Prince Frederick of Holland, and just received a reply. Frederick is personally coming to oversee the search. Armand smirks, knowing the Crown Prince's arrival will finally force the lazy British military to get serious about finding Leopold. Charlotte slowly nods, taking in the news about the Crown Prince. Armand suggests they head inside, but she quietly refuses. She tells him to go on ahead, explaining that she wants to stay on the balcony a little longer. With a heavy heart, she turns and walks away, leaving him standing alone in the fading light. Armand watches her go, his expression unreadable as she disappears from view. The vast, silent estate is bathed in the soft glow of the moon, holding its secrets close as the night deepens over the mansion. Alone in her room, Charlotte's thoughts spiral. Does Leopold really value his political goals more than solving the mystery of his own death? A vision of the ghostly prince fills her mind, calm and detached. She remembers him speaking as if he had no attachments to life, saying he could finally move on if he knew for sure what happened. A heavy sadness settles over her as she realizes the truth. Perhaps Leopold has lived his entire life so crushed by responsibility that he's completely forgotten how to care about himself. Charlotte realizes with a pang of sadness that Leopold might value Holland's independence more than his own life. She clenches the fabric of her dress, her heart aching. A memory flashes in her mind, the two of them dancing in a magical forest, with him telling her how happy he was just to be with her. That memory fuels a new resolve. Even if she doesn't know his true intentions, she refuses to stand by. She makes a vow to herself. She will not let his gentle smile disappear from this world. Meanwhile, Leopold seethes with frustration over the sluggish search for his body. He fumes that there's no point discussing anything with officials who only care about paperwork. They're too cautious, content to live quietly instead of taking risks. Clenching his fist, he wonders how anyone can move forward when they're so afraid of failure. A new fire ignites in his eyes as he stands. He decides that a massive change is needed to wake everyone up, even if it seems strange for a man of his status to make such a move. Leopold decides that what the people truly desire is a revolution. He reflects that all great changes are sparked by a noble, someone to serve as an example. Glancing at a newspaper questioning his own disappearance, a new plan forms in his mind. He will be the catalyst for this dramatic shift. But before he can set his grand scheme into motion, there's one thing he must do first. A confident, calculating smirk spreads across his face. He's ready to make his move. In a secluded, moonlit clearing, Charlotte is stunned to find Armand Rochefort standing behind her. She asks how he possibly knew she was here. With a mysterious smile, he calls it a secret, teasing that everyone is allowed to have one or two. A blush creeps onto Charlotte's face as she relents. Armand notes that they already share plenty of secrets, especially about this hidden spot. He then smoothly changes the subject, asking if she enjoyed his musical gala earlier that evening. Charlotte admits she couldn't really enjoy the gala because she was too preoccupied. With a hint of a smile, she reveals that she's found a promising lead. But Armand's face darkens with concern, and he asks if she's getting into something dangerous. Charlotte immediately denies it, flustered but insistent that she knows exactly what she's doing. He reminds her that he will help find her a suitor no matter what, so she doesn't need to take risks for their agreement. Shocked, Charlotte blurts out that it's not like that at all. She's doing this to find him. Charlotte blurts out that this isn't just about finding a good match anymore. Her mind flashes back to her past life. For years, she and her sisters just learned etiquette and mended dresses, forced to wear fake smiles at endless social gatherings. She was always the forgotten wallflower, waiting for someone to finally notice her or ask for a dance. But helping him isn't about waiting around. It's about taking the first step herself. With sudden clarity, she understands this is what her heart truly wants, a feeling as natural as the wind. Armand is completely taken aback by her sudden passion. He murmurs Charlotte's name, wondering when the quiet girl he knew became so different. With a determined look, Charlotte asks His Highness to make her a promise. She pleads with him to stay by her side until his mission is resolved and he can finally return to his own life. Believing her heartfelt request is for him, Armand is secretly touched. He realizes he wasn't the only one who wished the night would never end, and he had been hoping to see her again. Armand suddenly calls out to Charlotte, asking if she wants to venture out of the forest with him tonight. She's completely baffled by the random suggestion. He explains that hearing her talk about the gala made him crave music for the first time in a long while, and he wants her to accompany him to a late-night concert. Charlotte is stunned. A concert at this hour? She points out that no one would be performing, and even if they were, she has no way to call a carriage. But Armand simply tells her not to worry. With a charming smile, Armand confidently offers his hand to Charlotte. After a moment of hesitation, she gently places hers on top. But instead of leading her to a carriage, he takes her straight to the stables. Her confusion turns to shock when she realizes his plan. He wants to ride his horse, Charles, to the concert. Charlotte starts panicking, frantically explaining that Charles is a vicious beast who kicks anyone that comes near. But Armand is unfazed, calmly approaching the wild horse as Charlotte watches in absolute horror. Charlotte screams for him to stop, terrified he's about to get kicked. But as Armand calmly places a hand on the horse's head, the supposedly vicious animal becomes perfectly still. Charlotte stares in disbelief. Charles isn't kicking at all. Armand explains that everyone misunderstood him. Charles isn't a carriage horse, he's a riding horse, meant to bond with a master. He admits the horse has a temper, but once he trusts someone, he becomes gentle. Having completely tamed the beast, Armand turns and asks Charlotte if she knows how to ride. Charlotte panics, admitting she doesn't know how to ride a horse. But Armand simply smiles, telling her that he'll teach her tonight. A moment later, they are riding through the moonlit forest, with Charlotte sitting safely in front of him. She's completely amazed. The once vicious horse is now perfectly gentle. Realizing she misjudged the animal, she asks Armand if Charles was named after him. He confirms it, explaining that the horse's brown coat is the same unique color as the hair of the Augusta family, glancing pointedly at Charlotte as they ride. Charlotte reveals she asked her father to name the horse Charles because she wanted a fellow troublemaker in the family. When Charles turned out to be difficult, everyone teased her, saying the name was a perfect fit. She eventually regretted the decision, seeing the misunderstood horse as a reflection of herself, an outcast. But now, seeing how gentle he is with Armand, her mind changes completely. She realizes the horse was never vicious, just remarkable and stubborn. Gently patting him, she wonders how hurt he must have been, always being scolded for simply being himself. Armand tells her that a person's value can change depending on who is watching them. As they ride, he asks if she has simply started believing the labels others have forced on her. He explains that he doesn't see a troublemaker at all. Instead, he sees a woman of intelligence and courage, someone fully capable of protecting her own worth, no matter the situation. Completely stunned by his high praise, Charlotte can only blush as her heart begins to pound in her chest. She is left utterly speechless by his unexpected kindness. As they overlook the town, Charlotte's eyes go wide with wonder. The streets below are alive with people dancing and celebrating, looking like a massive outdoor ball. Armand explains this is how the common folk unwind. Farmers and factory workers, having finished their work for the week, are throwing a huge party before Sunday arrives. He tells her that for them, Saturday night is their real day of rest. While they can't go down and join the festivities, Armand says it's more than enough to listen to the joyful music from their spot. Charlotte curiously asks Armand how he discovered this beautiful spot. He reveals he used to meet his secret nights here, explaining that a pub in a remote village is the perfect place to pass along information without being noticed. Nights like Saturday are ideal, and Charlotte giggles, guessing it's because anyone who's had too much to drink won't remember a thing the next day. As Armand plays a tune, she's struck by a profound realization. She had no idea this whole other world existed just a short distance away, filled with people living bold, active lives. This revelation hits Charlotte hard. She realizes she's wasted her life constantly comparing herself to her sisters, feeling anxious and small. She'd clung to the foolish hope that marriage would magically fix everything, so she just waited passively for it to happen. But as she's lost in her regretful thoughts, Armand moves closer. He gently brushes her hair aside, his touch sending a shiver down her spine. Looking her in the eyes, he tells her that she is the very last person on earth who lives by just waiting. His unexpected praise leaves her utterly speechless. Armand continues, telling Charlotte she's the opposite of passive. Even when her ideas are wild, she always forges her own path. He chuckles, admitting her proactive nature sometimes causes a little trouble, which makes her blush. But then his smile fades. He says he understands her feelings of regret perfectly. He explains that when he first left the palace, he was hit with the exact same emotions. He recalls the overwhelming doubt, emptiness, and even a deep sense of shame. Charlotte stares, completely surprised by his confession. Shame? Why would he feel shame? Armand continues his confession, admitting that inside the palace, he was blind to the real world. He once thought the only thing that mattered was the grand cause of uniting the kingdom. But outside those walls, he discovered that real people had smaller, messier problems. They weren't the weak figures he'd imagined. He came to a shocking conclusion. Royalty wasn't truly leading the people, but merely ruling thanks to them. Charlotte connects the dots, asking if this is what changed his mind about the throne. A small smile plays on his lips as he praises her sharp deduction skills. Armand drops a bombshell. He willingly gave the throne to his brother, Frederick. In reality, they'd struck a secret deal. Frederick would be king, and Armand's final duty would be to secure Holland's independence. After that, he would finally be free. Charlotte is stunned. There was never any real struggle for the crown. She asks what free truly means, and he explains it's about real rest, escaping a life lived only for duty. A sudden, powerful realization washes over Charlotte as his words sink in. Charlotte finally gets it. It all clicks into place as she realizes why Leopold could speak of his own death so calmly. He was trapped, just like Philip and Armand, born into a life of endless power games with no hope of escape. Despite their own burdens, both men believed the same thing, that Prince Leopold would be the one to finally bring change. He was seen as the leader of his generation, the single person carrying the heavy weight of everyone's hopes for a better future. Armand finds his own situation laughable, running from duty for freedom he's barely experienced. He turns to Charlotte and asks if she thinks he's a coward for it. Clutching her dress, Charlotte thinks back to her own struggles, remembering how she cried over the much smaller pressure of needing to find a husband. If only grand causes gave life meaning, she reasons, then all the joyful people dancing and living their simple lives would be considered cowardly. A soft smile graces her lips as she offers a different view. Their simple happiness proves the world is full of quiet beauties. Charlotte gently takes Armand's hand, firmly telling him he is not a coward. In fact, she argues that following everyone's expectations would have been the easy way out. Real courage, she explains, is choosing to seriously think about how you want to live. A bright smile spreads across her face as she declares that he doesn't want a life of grand causes, but one filled with simple, everyday joys. Her words hit him right in the chest. A gentle smile forms as he processes her understanding. He asks if she's saying he could live a life where he can appreciate simple things, like noticing how cute the lady he's with is. Armand wonders if this simple life also means feeling a bit sad when the moon sets. Beaming, Charlotte confirms it is. She says it's a life where you might even find yourself rolling around in bed, giddy with happiness. Their shared laughter fills the air as they get lost in each other's eyes, surrounded by glowing ethereal flowers. In this magical moment, Armand has a realization. He admits to himself that ever since meeting her, the nights have started to feel far too short. He's even begun to dread the sunrise. As the seasons change, Charlotte reflects on how quickly time has passed. It's already autumn. Early one morning, Nanny Sydney spots her standing by the grand doors and is shocked to see her awake at such an hour. The concerned Nanny greets her, asking what she's doing up and if she's waiting for someone. Lost in her thoughts, Charlotte turns. The question hangs in the air, making her wonder if she really is waiting for someone to appear. Charlotte explains to her nanny that it's actually the opposite of waiting. As she looks out the window, she finds the morning sunlight feels strangely cold. Nanny Sydney observes that Charlotte is becoming more like her Aunt Alicia every day. Suddenly, a sharp knock cuts through the silence, startling them both. Who could possibly be visiting at this hour? The grand doors swing open to reveal Prince Philip Oslo. He apologizes for the early intrusion and asks if he might speak with Miss Charlotte for a moment. Inside the parlor, Prince Philip gets straight to the point. He tells Charlotte that her letter was so shocking, he couldn't sleep a wink. Now, he needs answers. He asks why she's so certain Prince Leopold didn't disappear on his own accord. More importantly, he wants to know how she got involved in this mess. Charlotte completely understands his suspicion. She admits it's only natural for him to find her claims hard to believe. After all, it's unbelievable for an ordinary lady to be mixed up in a case that has shaken the entire nation. Charlotte knows her story is a tough pill to swallow, but she can't just sit back and do nothing. It's been almost 2 months, and the official investigation has completely stalled. Even a man like Armand Rochefort is at a standstill. Charlotte feels the urgency deep in her bones. The more time that passes, the more danger Leopold is in. Looking directly at Prince Philip, she explains that she's telling him this because she trusts him. She knows for a fact that Prince Leopold didn't just disappear on his own. Charlotte lays out the 2 grim possibilities. Prince Leopold was either taken by someone or for some reason he can no longer return to his physical body. Philip is stunned, demanding to know how she could possibly know such a thing. Internally, Charlotte admits she agonized over this conversation. She considered lying like she did with Armand Rochefort, pretending to be the prince's lover to get involved. But that was just a tactic to keep Armand from getting suspicious. To truly help the investigation, she realizes she must talk about the night before Leopold vanished. Prince Philip connects the dots, pointing out that the only person who could be so sure about Leopold's situation is the prince himself. Charlotte takes a deep breath and agrees with him completely. Internally, she knows this is a massive risk. What she's about to say will sound completely insane and could shatter her reputation. Her hand clenches her dress, but she pushes the fear down. Her social standing doesn't matter right now. The only thing that matters is the truth, and the very reason for her certainty is standing right there beside her. Charlotte finally drops the bombshell. The reason she knows all this is because she can see spirits. Prince Philip sits in stunned silence, his face unreadable. Seeing his disbelief, Charlotte scrambles to explain, awkwardly comparing herself to a medium who can communicate with the dead. Internally, she frets that it's the only explanation she can offer. Philip lets out a skeptical sigh, clearly not buying it. Desperate, Charlotte jumps to her feet. She knows how insane she sounds, but she pleads with him to just hear her out if he truly wants to find Prince Leopold. With desperation in her eyes, Charlotte begs Prince Philip Oslo to believe her. He stares her down for a tense moment before his expression softens. He finally agrees, stating that he will listen because he trusts her. Philip then recaps her incredible story. Leopold disappeared the night before the exhibition, right after having a final nightcap. He asks if she truly learned all of this through spiritual means. Pressing further, he demands to know if she's really speaking directly with Prince Leopold's spirit. Caught off guard, Charlotte stammers, suddenly wanting to keep her private moments with Leopold a secret. Flustered, Charlotte backtracks, telling Prince Philip she doesn't speak directly with the spirit. Instead, she claims she only hears bits and pieces of information. Philip listens intently before giving his verdict. He admits that while he trusts her, the entire story is so unbelievable he needs time to think it over. He then makes her a promise. No matter what he decides, her secret is safe with him. More importantly, he assures her this won't change how he views her. Visibly relieved, Charlotte thanks him, a new level of trust forming between them. A luxurious golden carriage pulls through the ornate gates of a stunning estate. A young noble lady steps out, a look of surprise on her face. She takes a deep breath, remembering her last visit. Back then, the gardens were bursting with spring flowers. Now, autumn leaves drift down from the trees. A thoughtful smile crosses her lips as she realizes just how much time has passed and how many things have changed since she was last here. It feels like an entirely different world.